Murtaza. Auzu billahi minash shaitanir rajim. Bismillahir rahmanir rahim. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. With the name of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, we begin the Majalis of Arbaeen. Inshallah, there will be three Majalis at the same time, starting at 6:30 in English and after Maghrib in Urdu. I would like to start the Majlis with the recitation of Quran. I request Brother Murtaza Abbas to do the recitation of Quran. Please recite a salawat.
Please recite another loud salawat. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. عبس وتولى أن جاءه الأعمى. وما يدريك لعله يزكى أو يذكر فتنفعه الذكرى. أما من استغنى فأنت له تصدى. وما عليك ألا يزكى. وأما من جاءك يسعى وهو يخشى فأنت عنه تلهى. كلا إنها تذكرة فمن شاء ذكره في صحف مكرمة. في صحف مكرمة مرفوعة مطهرة بأيدي سفرة كرام بررة. قتل الإنسان ما أكفره. من أي شيء خلقه. من نطفة خلقه فقدره ثم السبيل يسره ثم أماته فأقبره. ثم السبيل يسره ثم أماته فأقبره ثم إذا شاء أنشره. كلا لما يقض ما أمره. فلينظر الإنسان إلى طعامه أنا صببنا الماء صبا. أنا صببنا الماء صبا ثم شققنا الأرض شقا فأنبتنا فيها حبا وعنبا وعنبا وقضبا وزيتونا ونخلا وحدائق غلبا وفاكهة وأبا متاعا لكم ولأنعامكم فإذا جاءت الصاخة يوم يفر المرء من أخيه وأمه وأبيه وصاحبته وبنيه لكل امرئ منهم يومئذ شأن يغنيه وجوه يومئذ مسفرة ضاحكة مستبشرة ووجوه يومئذ عليها غبرة ترهقها قترة أولئك هم الكفرة الفجرة.
صدق الله العلي العظيم. صلوا على محمد وآل محمد.
Jazakallah. There was Brother Murtaza Abbas for his increased tawfiqat. Please recite a louder salawat. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. Next, let me invite Brother Muhammad Ibrahim to recite a salam with a loud salawat. Allahumma salli.
Salawat. Love of my heart, you're the light of my eyes. Hussein, light of my eyes. Love of my heart, you're the light of my eyes. Hussein, light of my eyes. Zainab, my sweet, they will bind both your feet. They will tear away your veil. Oh, they'll come for Ali. They will curse him 'cause of me. They will torture him, you'll see. And will never be far from the pain of Ashura, from the pain of Ashura. Love of my heart, you're the light of my eyes. Hussein, light of my eyes. Oh, they'll curse Mustafa and my father Murtada for they hate all that is good, and all good for which is stood. From my mother they did steal, yet the truth Allah revealed, and will never be far from the pain of Fatima, from the pain of Fatima. Love of my heart, you're the light of my eyes, Hussein, light of my eyes. Where the sands are dry as hell, where the holy blood did spill, where the souls of martyrs dwell. My sweet Zainab, do not fear, know Allah is always near, know Allah all things does hear, and will never be far from the plains of Karbala, from the plains of Karbala. Love of my heart, you're the light of my eyes, Hussein, light of my eyes. We will face cursed Yazid, after evil he did lead. You will teach what is right, then in my face he will strike. To Allah we will return, for this meeting we do yearn, and will never be far from the call of Allah, from the call of Allah. Love of my heart, you're the light of my eyes, Hussein, light of my eyes. We will fight until the end, for the love we will defend, on Allah we will depend. For the battle's our way, and from now till judgment day, oh, these words we will pray, and will never be far from the path of Allah, from the path of Allah. Love of my heart, you're the light of my eyes, Hussein, light of my eyes. Salawat.
MashaAllah, that was Brother Muhammad Ibrahim. Next will be Brother Tahanabawi with a short speech. Please join me to invite him with the loud salawat ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم وبه نستعين إنه خير ناصر ومعين رب اشرح لي صدري ويسر لي أمري واحلل عقدة من لساني يفقه قولي صدق الله العلي العظيم وصلى الله على سيدنا محمد وآله الطاهرين. An issue which is a big issue unfortunately today is seen that people are neglecting their salah, especially in these times. In the Western society, you could say people don't take salah very importantly. They take it lightly, you could say. And this is also common mainly in teenagers and young kids who are baligh, that they take their salah lightly. They don't see it as important. Firstly, I want to say that salah is a private meeting that you have with Allah. This is the meeting that you have with Allah. When adhan time comes in, know that Allah is there waiting for you. He's waiting for you to come, and He's waiting for you to remember Him. He's waiting for you to come and do His prayer. So how beautiful is it that when adhan time comes in, you know that the Lord of the universe, the Lord of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa alihi wa sallam, is waiting for you to come and to pray to Him. Just like how in the adhan it says, Hayya ala salati, hayya ala salah. Come to prayer, come to prayer. Hayya ala al-falahi, hayya ala al-falah. Hurry to success, come to success. Then it says, Hayya ala khayr al-amal, hayya ala khayr al-amal. Come to the best of deeds. Hurry to the best of deeds. Salah is the best of deeds. We can see this in a riwayah from Imam al-Sadiq alayhi salatu was-salam, in which someone asks the Imam, Ya Imam, what is the best thing through which a servant of Allah may become closer to his Lord, that is also most beloved to Allah, the most majestic, the most glorious? The Imam replies, I do not know anything after knowing Allah and His religion that is more excellent than His prayer. So the best deed, the best thing that you can do to come closer to Allah is what? Salah, is praying to Him. There is also a hadith from Amir al-Mu'mineen, Imam Ali alayhi salam, in which Imam Ali says, if the mu'min knew how much mercy surrounded him when he was in sujood, he would not raise his head from sujood. That is how much mercy surrounds you and is with you when you are just in sujood. He would not raise his head from sujood. This is what Imam Ali alayhi salam has to say. I would also like to move on to, if someone is struggling with temptation or desire or a sin that they constantly keep getting into, or any sin. Allah in the Quran al-Kareem states, أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم إن الصلاة تنهى عن الفحشاء والمنكر. Indeed, salah forbids indecency and evil. So know that when you are praying, indecency and evil is far from you. Allah is keeping that far from you. For the last part of the speech, I would like to move on to Sayyid al-Shuhada, Imam al-Hussein alayhi salam. But before that, let's look at what his grandfather, Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa alihi wa sallam, had to say. It is stated that the Prophet's last wasiyah to Imam Ali when he was in his lap and he was passing away was 3 words: As-salah, as-salah, as-salah. Prayer, prayer, prayer. Guard the prayer. This is what Imam Hussein fought for on the day of Karbala, on the day of Ashura. This is what Imam Hussein fought for. Iqamatul salah is what Imam Hussein alayhi salam fought for. He didn't fight for political gain. He didn't fight for any politics. He fought to serve the religion of his grandfather. He fought to protect the religion of his grandfather, Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa alihi wa sallam. Allahumma. Salah is this important. He stopped a battle in the middle of the day under the blazing sun so he could go and do his prayer. So he could go and pray Salatul Dhuhr. His soldiers stood there, dying for him, taking arrows for him, taking spears for him, defending him, standing up for him, just so he could finish his salah, just so he could finish his prayer. That is how important prayer is. So when one of us, when adhan time comes in and we're sitting around or we're doing something else, always remember what Imam Hussein alayhi salam did when adhan time came. Always remember how he stopped the battle and how he went to go and finish his prayer, and his soldiers stood there defending him. Sallu ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. Sallu ala.
MashaAllah, that was very informative and inspirational speech about the importance of prayer. Of course, for the young people, for everyone who takes the prayer lightly or don't give that much importance, it's very informational. Jazakallah khair. Please recite a loud salawat for Taha Nabawi. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. Next, let me invite Brother Ali Abbas for a salam with the louder of your salawat. Allah Muhammad wa Ali Muhammad.
صلوا على محمد وآل محمد. Recite a salam in honor of Lady Zainab Salamullah alayha. O daughter of Ali, Ali and Fatima, Ummul Masaib, Sharikat al-Hussein. O our Lady Zainab, we offer unto you our condolences on your 72. O no Muhammad, Qasim Akbar, Ghazi Asghar, and your brother Hussein. If you can recite the chorus with me, it will be very good. O daughter of Ali, Ali and Fatima, Ummul Masaib, Sharikat al-Hussein. I am in shackles, they took my chadar, and on a spear is raised your head, O brother. But faith is in my heart, Zainab will do her part to spread the message of Shahadatul Hussein. O daughter of Ali, Ali and Fatima, Ummul Masaib, Sharikat al-Hussein. The sermons that you gave, O daughter of Ali, in Kufa and Dimashq, defeated tyranny. Oh, little did they know the cursed ashqiya. You took the Dhul-Fiqar بعد قتل Hussein. O daughter of Ali, Ali and Fatima, Ummul Masaib, Sharikat al-Hussein. How well did you reflect? How well did you protect the true image of your Nana Rasulullah, Sadiq Adil, Alim Aqil, Sabir Shakir, مثل Hassan Hussein. O daughter of Ali, please recite with me. Ali and Fatima, Ummul Masaib, Sharikat al-Hussein. O our Lady Zainab, the standards that you set for patience and for grace we shall never forget. For we are the Shia, the fruit of your dua, who will forever say, Labbaika ya Hussein, Labbaika ya Hussein, Labbaika ya Hussein. O daughter of Ali, Ali and Fatima, Ummul Masaib, Sharikat al-Hussein. Sallu ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad.
Jazakallah, Dr. Ali Abbas. Before I invite Maulana for the speech, a few announcements. First of all, there is a Arbaeen walk that is in collaboration between Imam al-Asr Masjid and Majalis Mosque. That is in Chantilly. The address is 42313 Sweetwater Lane, Chantilly, Virginia. Everyone is requested to take part in this walk. Next one is a workshop. It's an educational workshop on the same day, Saturday, August 16, about learning from Imam Hussein alayhi salam, life and legacy. The topic will be resilience, resistance and righteousness, a vision for Islamic community in the light of Karbala. The time will be 4 to 6 p.m. Location is the same location, Imam al-Asr Masjid, Alexandria. It's Saturday, August 16. Sunday, August 17, there is an Intrafaith Hussein Day, and it's in collaboration of all local masajid, included Crescent Mosque, Imam Ali Center, Imam al-Asr Masjid, and Majalis Mosque. This will be at Crescent Mosque in Chantilly. The time will be 2:30 p.m. to 6 p.m. Sunday, August 17th. There is a lot of speakers, both from Shia community and Sunni community. We request everyone to please join this event as well. It's in Crescent Mosque, Chantilly. All these programs that are conducting, alhamdulillah, they are with the sponsorship of community members. And tonight's sponsors are Sister Zahra Abad and Sayyid Nadi Ali and family. For their increased tawfiqat, please recite aloud salawat. Allah Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. Wa ali Muhammad. This is a series of 3 majalis, both in English and Urdu. English Majlis starts at 6:30, where Hujjatul Islam, Sayyid Sulayman Abdi, will be delivering the speech in these majalis in English. And after the Maghrib, there will be Urdu majalis, where the speaker for that is Maulana Sayyid Shahid, or Maulana Shahid Misa. On Thursday and Friday, we also have Farsi program, and that will be before Maghrib, I believe, after Maghrib. So we request everyone to please take note of these programs and participate. Please recite aloud salawat. We are fortunate to have our own Maulana, Hujjatul Islam, Sayyid Sulayman Abdi. I'm sure he is very busy and not available for us a lot during the Muharram, but we are lucky to have him this weekend. So let me invite Maulana Sayyid Sulayman with a loud salawat, and I would also request everyone to please move forward so that we can have an environment of the Majlis. Please recite a loud salawat.
Surah Al-Fatiha. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alamin. Ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Maliki yawmiddin. Iyaka na'budu wa iyaka nasta'in. Ihdina as-sirata al-mustaqim. Sirata alladhina an'amta alayhim ghayri al-maghdubi alayhim waladdallin. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين بارئ الخلائق أجمعين، والصلاة والسلام على أشرف الأنبياء والمرسلين المبعوث رحمة للعالمين، شفيع المذنبين وحبيب قلوب الصادقين، سيدنا ومولانا أبي القاسم محمد. اللهم صل على وعلى أهل بيته الطيبين الطاهرين، ولعنة الله على أعدائهم إلى قيام يوم الدين. رب اشرح لي صدري ويسر لي أمري واحلل عقدة من لساني يفقه قولي. أما بعد، فقد قال الله عز وجل في القرآن المجيد: بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. ومن يتق الله يجعل له مخرجا ويرزقه من حيث لا يحتسب ومن يتوكل على الله فهو حسبه إن الله بالغ أمره قد جعل الله لكل شيء قدرا. صدق الله العلي العظيم. صلوات Muhammad. Dear brothers and sisters, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. As we come towards the day of Arbaeen, we are also approaching the conclusion of a very blessed part of our Islamic practice and calendar. And almost paradoxically, that is a season both of grief and mourning and sadness, but also the season which inspires in us the greatest hope and tranquility. And this is because it is not the teaching of our faith that we look for happiness or we look for fulfillment or we look for success or salvation through an avoidance of the pain and the difficulty and the hardship within life. We don't derive hope by ignoring death. We don't pray to Allah for success by asking not to have any trials or any tests or any difficulties in life. But rather we understand that if God has placed those difficulties or those tests in our path, then it is not because He wants us to fail. It is not because He wants us to suffer, but rather it is because He wants us to discover our strength and to succeed and to triumph and to come closer to Him. If you understand that logic, then you will understand that remembering death does not make you enjoy less of life, but rather avoiding the remembrance of death is what makes your life meaningless and shallow. It's going to pass in either case. Whether I flee from death or whether I recognize that I am mortal and I am going to die, I am going to die. In fact, the people who think that they are immortal and who flee from death, in many cases, because they are not responsible, they act in risky ways that make it more likely that they will suffer or that they will die. But if I have fully come to terms with the reality of death, then I will live my life responsibly. I will value every moment, not because it is going to pass, but because it is a divine trust, and I am accountable, I am answerable for every gift and every trust that God has given me. So remembering death does not take away the value and the meaning of life. Remembering death is what gives meaning and depth and value to life. And the same thing is true of any hardship or any suffering that we may have in our existence. The same thing is true of the grief, the tears, the mourning that we have with respect to Karbala. It is that remembrance and it is that grief that reminds us of the reality of the world that we live in. There is a genocide that is taking place through our tacit support and in our name. It is our policies, it is our politicians who are blaming the victim and supporting the aggressor. I may not support that, and in fact, not only Muslims, but the majority of Christians and non-Muslims and all people of conscience, even if they don't believe in God. To the extent that they are aware of what is going on, they oppose those policies. Even if your loyalty is to patriotism and to your country, then your patriotism and your loyalty to your country should make you oppose the risking of the well-being and the life of our soldiers, our investments, our blood and our treasure for a cause that goes against our stated values and our social, political, and economic interests, and those that goes against the very essence of humanity and freedom. But when we have a genocide that is taking place, that we may wish we could stop, but we are unable to effectively mobilize and bring an end to. The logic of our faith, the values and the practice of our Imams and our Prophet is such that we should not be able to compartmentalize it and say that, you know what, it's been going on for 2 years, I have to live my life, and therefore I am going to ignore something that is so tragic, something that is so criminal, something that is so significant that it has awoken voices of conscience in the most surprising of places. And all of you are witnesses to people who said that, you know, I never thought that I would be saying this. I never thought that I would be thinking this. But what I am seeing, what I have witnessed, it has brought me to a realization of who is oppressed and who is the oppressor. Now, if there is a realization that comes to people whose religion is not about support for the oppressor and fighting against the oppressor and fighting for the oppressed, that is not their religion, that is not their identity, that is not their foundational doctrine or creed. And yet, because of their fitrah, because of their humanity, because of their innate goodness, they are coming to that realization and they say that, you know what, the pleasures of life do not have the same significance for me anymore because of what is going on in the world. Then those of us who are followers of Muhammad al-Mustafa sallallahu alayhi wa alihi, who are followers of Imam Ali, about whom it was said, قُتِلَ لِشِدَّةِ عَدَالَتِهِ. He was martyred because of his commitment to justice. And our Prophet did not fight because he was oppressed. Imam Ali did not fight because he was oppressed. Imam Hassan and Imam Hussein did not struggle and offer their lives as martyrs, both of them, one through poisoning and one on the battlefield, because they were oppressed. It was because of their support and their advocacy for the rights, the dignity, the value of every other human being who was oppressed, that although they could have lived a very comfortable life, whether the Prophet, when Quraysh offered him to be king, or Imam Ali, when people came to him with offers of support, or Imam Hassan and Imam Hussein, when they were also tempted by the evil governments of their time to make their peace, to compromise, and to live a comfortable life. They did not struggle because they were forced to. They struggled against oppression because they chose to, because that was their value, because that was what Islam itself teaches. أَرَأَيْتَ الَّذِي يُكَذِّبُ بِالدِّينِ فَذَلِكَ الَّذِي يَدُعُّ الْيَتِيمِ وَلَا يَحُضُّ عَلَى طَعَامِ الْمِسْكِينِ. In the very early teachings of our Prophet, the essence of deen and faith, worship, religiosity is not just, as we sometimes think, oh, I need to be a good person. I need to box myself off from the suffering and from the evils of this world. I don't drink. I don't go to a casino. I don't do these sinful behaviors. And so I will retreat from society into my own bubble, and the problems of society and the people within that society, that is not my problem. As long as I can do my worship and I can live a pious life, I feel like I have done my part. I might even feel pious. But when Surah Al-Ma'un was revealed in Mecca, were those who were needy, the orphans, yatim, the indigent, miskin, were they Muslims or were they non-Muslims? The vast majority of them were not only non-Muslims, but they were mushriks. They were people who worshipped idols, worshipped multiple gods, and they may have been steeped in so many harmful and sinful behaviors, beliefs, practices, and yet Islam came with a message that religion, deen, is to be concerned about the rights, the dignity, the well-being of those very people who may not have any sympathy for you or your faith or your ethnicity, or your rights or your interests. But you don't do it for their sake. You don't support them because you say, well, if they are Shia, then I will support them. And the Palestinians or the people of Gaza, they are not Shia, so I have nothing to do with them. You don't support them because they are Muslim. And then you say people who are suffering in another part of the world, they're not Muslim. And so they're not part of my tribe, my community, my interest group. The value system of the Quran, the value system of the Prophet and Ahlul Bayt, and their practice was that you want to be righteous and you want to support and advocate righteousness for the sake of Allah, who is the Lord and the Creator and the Sustainer of all that exists and all human beings, Muslim and non-Muslim, Shi'i Muslims, Sunni Muslims, or any other school of thought within Islam or outside of the fold of Islam. And so, once again, to reiterate that important message, if we see evil and suffering within society, our response is not that, well, I am going to retreat. I am going to ignore it because there is nothing that I can do. Nor is it to go to the other extreme and say this is such an evil that I must drop everything and I must devote all of my time simply to opposing this one evil. Now, complacency is easy for us to understand. Why is it wrong? But what about the opposite of complacency, which is that there is a genocide going on, why am I going to work? There is a genocide going on, how can I concentrate on my studies? Here I am studying, to take a SAT if I want to go to college, to take an MCAT if I want to go to medical school, or the LSAT if I want to go to law school or internship. Or it seems like this is a discourtesy and injustice for me to live my life when I should be doing something to stop the evil or the injustice that exists before us. But this is also a mistake and it is a fallacy. And in fact, they are two sides of the same coin. That's a little bit difficult for us to imagine. So let me clarify what I mean by saying they are two sides of the same coin. Somebody is complacent, and somebody wants to drop everything to politically oppose an evil and an injustice. They are not the same. But how can I say they are two sides of the same coin? In order to understand that, we have to look at the spiritual logic that comes from our belief in God and our belief that Allah has a purpose in creation. Let us look, for example, at Surah Al-Fajr. Allah describes two different situations that people may have in life. One is a situation of a person who has everything. And one is a situation of a person who has nothing. A billionaire and a refugee, an asylee, a homeless person. We would say with our material eyes that they are on opposite sides of the spectrum. They have nothing in similar to one another. One person does not know where their next meal is going to come from. They don't know where they are going to sleep that night. They have nothing. They may not even have a passport, and they may not even know if they are going to be alive and safe, and if their family is going to be safe that very night. And the other person, they are contemplating what yacht to buy or what island to have their next party on. And not only do they have everything that they might need or everything that they might want, but if they were to gift, they could make sure that their children and grandchildren and great-grandchildren for 7 generations would never have to work and never have to lift a finger, but could obtain every luxury that they want just with the snap of a finger. From our eyes, because we live in the material world and we see material causes and effects, do we say that they are similar or do we say that they are dissimilar? Not only do we say they are dissimilar, but we say they have nothing alike. But then how does Allah describe that reality? فَأَمَّا الْإِنسَانُ إِذَا مَا ابْتَلَاهُ رَبُّهُ فَأَكْرَمَهُ وَنَعَّمَهُ فَيَقُولُ رَبِّي أَكْرَمَنِ وَأَمَّا إِذَا مَا ابْتَلَاهُ فَقَدَرَ عَلَيْهِ رِزْقَهُ فَيَقُولُ رَبِّي أَهَانَنِ. Now look at the eloquence and the beauty of the Quran. When we read it, we might skip the balance and the symmetry that the Quran has created. We might say there is one person who is blessed, and God says that That person says, I am noble in the eyes of Allah, I'm somebody special. And there is somebody who is poor or indigent or suffering, and they say that, has Allah forsaken me? Has God forgotten me? Rabbi ahanan. But Allah doesn't say that they are different. Look at the symmetry. إِذَا مَبْتَلَاهُ رَبُّهُ فَأَكْرَمَهُ وَنَعَمَهُ وَأَمَّا إِذَا مَبْتَلَاهُ فَقَدَرَ عَلَيْهِ رِزْقَهُ. In both cases, Allah says it is the same reality. One is tested and given much. The other one is tested and given little. In the logic of the Quran, are they more similar than they are different, or are they more different than they are similar? They are more similar. Because in both cases, the Quran says, إِذَا مَبْتَلَاهُ رَبُّهُ وَأَمَّا إِذَا مَبْتَلَاهُ فَقَدَرَ عَلَيْهِ رِزْقَهُ. One is tested, the other is tested. It is just the form of the test that is different. You know how sometimes when we take a standardized test, there are sections, and one group of students will get section A first, and another group of students will get section B first. But they're all being tested. And maybe some of the questions will be a little bit different, but they are similar enough that we say that, well, all of you have taken the SAT. Yeah, maybe one of you took the language portion first, one of you took the English portion first. Maybe in this test, some of you had one question or another question, but in the end, you all took the SAT, you're all going to get a score. That score is going to be one factor in determining what college you get into. That's the important part. The relevant story is not, well, which question did you have first, which question did I have first? That difference is almost insignificant in the grand scheme of things. And that is what the Quran wants us to see as well. That yes, there are differences. Some have been given much. Some have been given little. Some live a long life, and they become bored of life and await their death. And some people, they are taken away at the prime of their youth. And everybody says they went before their time. But Allah has appointed a time for everybody, and nobody goes before their time, and nobody stays past their time. Nobody lives too long, and nobody lives too short. In the grand scheme of things, although it is difficult for us to imagine, even the billionaire and the pauper are more similar than they are different. Because each of them is tested, and each of them is going to be questioned by Allah on the basis of what they were given and what was their test. And if you can understand that logic, then you can understand that seemingly unkind, unfair, counterintuitive message that I gave earlier. The person who says that I am going to ignore this tragedy that has taken place, that I'm just going to live my life. I want to party, I want to have fun, I want to, do my thing. And if there is a genocide going on, if there is a tragedy taking place, if there is evil in the world, what can I do about it? Why not at least live my life? Complacency and ignoring truth. That is on the one hand. And on the other hand, there is so much evil that I need to fight it. I need to go, and even if it means that I will lose my job, so be it. Even if it means that I will alienate my friends or maybe my family, so be it. Even if it means that I won't be able to get an education, so be it. Now that is courage. That is admirable. But in what way is it the other side of the same coin? The question is clear. How can courage and a willingness to struggle and sacrifice and pay the cost be the other side of the same coin as a person who says that I am just going to pretend everything is good as long as my life is safe, as long as my interests are not jeopardized. Yeah, maybe I'll go to protest when the policies affect me directly, but not until then. If it's 1,000 miles away, or if it's just illegal immigrants and I have immigration status or I'm a born citizen, then it doesn't concern me. How can they be the same? Now, they're not entirely the same, but they are two sides of the same coin in the sense that in both cases, if you ignore the root of the problem, then you will not be able to find the solution to that problem. And the root of the problem is not political, for us to say we need to have a political opposition. The root of the problem is not about material resources, for us to say that we have to collect our money or collect our resources and we have to oppose. It is not a military problem, it is not a political problem, it is not a social problem, but it is a spiritual problem, and it is a religious problem. A problem of values, of humanity, of our doctrine and our religious and our eternal values that causes this evil to exist within humanity. And so, if I ignore it, then I am doing an injustice to my humanity. But if I acknowledge it and I fight it only on a social level, or only on a political level, or only on a military level, then I am equally doing an injustice. It would be like treating a treatable cancer only with painkillers. Now, somebody who offers painkillers to a cancer patient is not the same as somebody who says, I'm just going to pretend that you're doing okay. I'm not going to have any concern for your pain. The second person is complacent. The person who offers painkillers at least has some heart, some courage, some sympathy. That is the person who goes and says, I am going to fight politically. I'm going to sacrifice my education, my job, in order to stand up for the oppressed. So we do prefer that sympathy, that humanity, over the complacency of the first person. But is it wrong to say they are two sides of the same coin? No, it is not wrong. Because if somebody has a treatable disease, and they are suffering and they are feeling pain, then by giving them a painkiller, you are not actually making them free of cancer. And it might simply be the case that because of that painkiller, they are going to not feel the pain, and they will have a more acute case that may be difficult or impossible to treat when the painkiller finally wears off. Something to think about, and I don't want to keep on repeating the same point because we have to move our discussion forward, but this is a very important point for us as believers in God and believers in the purpose of God for humanity and human history and for each and every one of our individual lives. For us to understand this point is essential to our understanding of what it means to be a Muslim. Salawat ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. If you would like to ask a question, please, sure.
Does it mean that in the current circumstances we should strive towards a spiritual revolution, a broader spiritual revolution wherever we live, whether it's in the US or across the world, which is the root?
That is exactly the point. That when you want to oppose, I am not saying that you should not oppose in politics. You should not go to the protest. You should not raise awareness on social media. You should not make those posts or those comments or those videos or do what you can do on the material level. But the essence is that you have to understand the root of the problem is a spiritual problem. And within your own life and within humanity, the majority of your effort and your energy should be spent on a religious revolution, a spiritual revolution, and then everything else is just a part of that primary goal. And so, if you are a student and you are studying for the SAT, then say to Allah, this is for Palestine. This is for the oppressed people in Lebanon, in Afghanistan, in any part of the world, the oppressed people in our own cities and in our own country. If it were just for me, I might be happy studying and getting a passing grade and just getting into college. But because, oh Allah, this is for you. And this is for those of your servants who are oppressed. I'm not just going to study to the extent that would make me happy. I am going to study to get the best grade, even if I don't care to be that very successful student. But if it means that I will be a more effective advocate for the dignity and the rights of oppressed Muslims and non-Muslims and a better servant for humanity, then I will dedicate this night of studying. I will dedicate this shift when I work. I will dedicate this night of sleep so that I'm able to wake up rested and with energy and with ability to do everything that I am responsible for. I will dedicate this to your path and to those of your servants who are oppressed. You don't see this as a distraction from your other life. Normally we see it as a distraction. That is going on and I'm trying to plan my wedding. That is going on and I am trying to plan my studies. That is going on and I'm trying to figure out what house to buy or rent. That is going on and I am trying to figure out what job offer to accept or where to apply or how to establish or strengthen my own business. I feel like I am distracted from the evil that exists. If you have a spiritual lens, then you realize that this is not a battle that began yesterday or that will end today or tomorrow. It is a battle that began from the first rebellion of Iblis against Allah, and it will not end until the final defeat of Iblis at the hands of Imam Mahdi and Prophet Isa. May Allah's peace and blessings be with both of them. Salawat ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. And so therefore, everything that you do in life, it is part of that battle. When you see a tragedy, you don't feel helpless, but you feel more motivated to do what is your duty as a son, or a daughter, or a brother, or a sister, or a husband, or a wife, or a parent, or an uncle, or an aunt, or a community member. You say, because of that, I am going to volunteer in my masjid. I am going to volunteer to teach in a Sunday school. I am going to volunteer to mentor a new Muslim or a student who needs assistance. I am going to give a greater portion of my wealth in the way of Allah to establish and to strengthen those institutions that are going to pass on our religion and our values and that will fight the spiritual fight. That is the foundation and the basis for every other political, social, economic, or personal fight or struggle we may be responsible for. They are one and the same. And what you see in the world makes you more motivated rather than making you complacent. But if you don't do that, and you say, I just hate the oppressor so much that I am going to fill my mind with speaking and acting against that oppressor, then you are not fighting for something, you are fighting against something. And in your fight against what is evil, and in your innocence and in your courage, you may actually not be contributing towards the long-term solution of the very problem that motivated you to give up a material life. So, two sides of the same coin. That is not to say that the person who ignores a patient in pain is the same as the person who gives that suffering person a painkiller. But it is to say that both of them are misguided or are missing the point. If there is a treatable condition, then the proper course of action is to offer treatment, to offer cure, to offer meaningful and lasting help to the person who is suffering. And then they may still need the painkiller. But then, once they are cancer-free, inshallah, they will not need any medicine, they will not need any palliative, they will be able to live their life. So we shouldn't be complacent. But anything that we do on a social level or a political level is a painkiller. If you want to solve the problem, then don't be a keyboard warrior, and don't just be somebody who pounds the pavement for a political cause. Come and learn about your religion and your values, and learn about the ways in which Ahlul Bayt taught us to fight and to defeat oppression. And that is the message of Arbaeen. Tonight, inshallah, and over the next 2 nights, that is what we are going to talk about and inshallah commit to. The event of Karbala took place, but there were many, many battles that took place of the righteous against the evil, before Islam and in Islam. 11 of our Imams were martyred, not only Imam Hussein. But what is unique and what is special about Karbala is the way in which the message of Karbala was spread after the martyrdom of Imam Hussein by his sister Zainab salamullahi alayha, by his son, our 4th Imam, Imam Zainul Abidin alayhi salam. In order to be both an inspiration and to be a roadmap for fighting and opposing evil and injustice. By means of offering yourself and then your family and your most near and dear ones and your most prized possessions in the way of Allah and in the path of Allah. So Karbala is a motto, it is an inspiration, but it is not just in theory. You know, sometimes people have a slogan, Christians, they have a slogan, what would Jesus do? And then if you ask them, all right, what would Jesus do? What roadmap do you have from your Christian ahadith and seerah? How much do you know about the life of Jesus? And if you combine the stories and the sayings within the Gospel and within the New Testament, then you don't have a comprehensive roadmap for how to raise a family, for how to deal with the pressures of a career, for how to make decisions about diet, about investments, about living your life and all of the challenges that you have within your life as a social being, as an economic being, as a human being. That's not because of a deficiency in the teachings of Prophet Isa. Prophet Isa came to complete and to correct the pre-existing scripture and teachings that had been revealed before him. But it does mean that although it is a very beautiful slogan, you and I believe that slogan. If you and I know what would Jesus do, then you and I will follow that before anyone who is a professed Christian or a believer in Jesus, because we believe that he is a prophet of Allah. He is Kalimatullah, he is Ruhullah, he is Al-Masih, he is the Word of God, he is the Spirit of God, he is the Messiah. But the reality is that perhaps we as Muslims have more substance about what Jesus would do and what he taught than those people who claim that they are his lovers and his followers. So Karbala is not just that slogan, Hayhat minna dhilla. It's a beautiful slogan, far be it from us to accept humiliation. It is not just a slogan, Labbaika ya Hussein, although that is a beautiful slogan for us to say, here we are, O Hussein. You are our master and you are our leader. It is substance. It is content. And for those people who are always there to cry, to mourn, but then if we say that, are you going to volunteer? There is a community event. There is a very important event, as Sayyid Alisha mentioned at the beginning of this Majlis, which was organized with great difficulty to bring together multiple Shi'i and Sunni centers and multiple Shi'i and Sunni speakers to speak about Karbala and Imam Hussein, and hopefully to pass that awareness and that message to people who may have heard the name Hussein as a grandson of the Prophet but know nothing of the story of Karbala and the importance of Karbala. If I am not going to be there because it is something different or is something unique, then we have to ask ourselves, are we like those people of Kufa? They wrote letters to Imam Hussein, but they expected that, finally Muawiyah is dead. Yazid is a young person and he hasn't established his government. We will write a letter, Imam Hussein will come, thousands of us will follow him, and it will be an easy victory. They wrote their letters to Imam Hussein in sincerity. But they didn't know that when you sign up to follow Imam Hussein, when you say Labbaika ya Hussein, then you are signing up for sacrifice. You are signing up to be at his service, not to join him when it is convenient or it suits you on your terms. And that message is very beautifully given to us in the verses of Surah Al-Talaq that I recited at the beginning of this majlis. I will just read and translate those verses, and inshallah we will continue this discussion in the 2 coming nights. Allah says in the Quran, وَمَنْ يَتَّقِ اللَّهِ يَجْعَلْ لَهُ مَخْرَجًا. Whoever is pious, Allah will give you a way out. وَيَرْزُقْهُ مِنْ حَيْثُ لَا يَحْتَسِبْ. And Allah will give you your sustenance from where you least expect it. وَمَنْ يَتَوَكَّلْ عَلَى اللَّهِ فَهُوَ حَسْبُهُ. If you rely on Allah, then Allah is sufficient for you. Until these 3 messages, Allah is saying that He is going to give you a way out. Because if you are facing, God forbid, divorce or any crisis, any difficulty in your life, you lose your job, you lose a family member, a loved one, you are worried about your future, you are worried about your loved ones, you are worried about your health, you are worried about your economic well-being, then of course your concerns and your worries are topmost in your mind. This is the beauty of the Quran. Allah recognizes that when you are in a crisis, your concern is about your own affairs, and rightfully so, because it's your responsibility. And so Allah gives you 3 powerful messages of reassurance and strength. وَمَنْ يَتَوَكَّلْ عَلَى اللَّهِ فَهُوَ حَسْبُهُ. If you rely on Allah, Allah is enough for you. And before that, وَمَنْ يَتَّقِ اللَّهِ يَجْعَلْ لَهُ مَخْرَجًا. If you are pious, Allah will give you a way out. وَيَرْزُقْهُ مِنْ حَيْثُ لَا يَحْتَسِبْ. And He will give you your sustenance. This job is no longer available, then Allah will give it to you from somewhere else. That avenue is closed, Allah will give you another avenue. 3 messages of reassurance for you because you are suffering. وَمَنْ يَتَّقِ اللَّهِ يَجْعَلْ لَهُ مَخْرَجًا وَيَرْزُقْهُ مِنْ حَيْثُ لَا يَحْتَسِبْ وَمَنْ يَتَوَكَّلْ عَلَى اللَّهِ فَهُوَ حَسْبُهُ. But then, if you don't understand the beauty and the eloquence of the Quran, you might say Allah changes the subject. إِنَّ اللَّهَ بَالِغُ أَمْرِهِ. Allah will accomplish His affair. Ya Allah, are you solving my problem? Or are you talking about your affair? But it isn't changing the subject on you. In fact, Allah is saying, you are the subject, and I am going to change you. You had a problem, and so Allah gives you the reassurance that I will solve your problem. يَجْعَلْ لَهُ مَخْرَجًا وَيَرْزُقْهُ مِنْ حَيْثُ لَا يَحْتَسِبْ فَهُوَ حَسْبُهُ. But then once you become pious, and once you become reliant on Allah, what does piety mean? What does reliance on Allah mean? It means that you are no longer living your individual life. You are no longer concerned about your job because of a selfish concern, but a sense of responsibility and a sense of duty. If you put your faith in Allah, your trust in Allah, if you are pious, then in reality, through that process, you are becoming the property of Allah. You are becoming an agent of Allah. And so it is a natural progression for Allah to say, Inna Allah balighu amrih. Allah will accomplish His purpose. You see the difference? It's not changing the subject. But the subject, which is you and your problems and your crisis and your suffering, that itself has changed. Now it is not your problem and your crisis and your suffering. It is Allah and His issue. It is His concern and His responsibility. It isn't your concern, your problem at all. Your body belongs to Allah. Your economic well-being, it is the responsibility of Allah, not yours. Your responsibility is to try and make effort. But your rizq is not your duty, it is the guarantee and therefore the obligation of God. إِنَّ اللَّهَ اشْتَرَى مِنَ الْمُؤْمِنِينَ أَنفُسَهُمْ وَأَمْوَالَهُمْ بِأَنَّ لَهُمُ الْجَنَّةِ. Allah has purchased from the believers their existence and their being and their property in exchange for Jannah. So the message of this verse is that Allah makes you His. And the true solution of your problem is not for you to get what you wanted or what you were praying for or what you had dreamed of. The true solution of your problem is to become the property of Allah, to become an agent of Allah, to become a worker and a worshiper for the sake of Allah, so that all of your obligations and all of your worries and all of your concerns, they become also the property and the concern, the responsibility of Allah. And I might not be able to pay off all my debts. I might not be able to take care of all of those people who are depending on me, but Allah can do it. Through me or through whatever means He knows. And that is the lesson that we learn from Karbala. In those final moments, there were those who said to the Imam that let us go and fight. And the Imam said, particularly to his sister Zainab and to his son Imam Zainul Abidin, that although you are not going to go to the battlefield, you are going to carry on this very fight and this very struggle that I have begun in Karbala. It said that after all had been martyred, Imam Hussein, he approached the tent in which Imam Zainul Abidin lay sick with fever. And I begin with the remembrance of that farewell of Imam Hussein with his son, because the martyrdom of Imam Hussein was that message that Imam Zainul Abidin relived every day of his life for more than 3 decades after Karbala. Because that farewell from his father was a covenant that Imam Zainul Abidin kept alive in the Majalis and in the remembrance which he established in Medina after Karbala. And so when Imam Hussein came, it is said that Imam Zainul Abidin was so sick that he did not know all of the details of what had transpired. The Imam roused his son, and when Our fourth Imam opened his eyes. He was shocked by what he saw. He said, Father, how long have I been sick? How long have I been asleep that I can barely recognize your face? Your eyes, it is as if they have lost their light. Your hair, it is as if it has become more white than it was when I last saw you. Tell me, have years passed? Have days passed? Have months passed? Or is it truly just a few moments ago that I was in your presence? Father, you did not used to ever walk with a broken back. Why is your back bent? And the Imam replied that, oh my son, you were not there when I bid farewell to Ali Akbar, and when he went to face the enemy, I saw my beautiful son Ali Akbar fall a martyr, chopped to pieces before my eyes. Oh my son Zain al-Abidin, when I saw Ali Akbar fall in battle, the light went from my eyes. I had to say to him, oh my son, keep calling me so that I will know where you are and I can come to your body. Oh my son, you don't know that I held my little al-Asr in my own arms, and an arrow came and martyred him while he lay in my arms, and with his final moment he reached out to hug me, and his blood filled my hands. Oh my son, my hair went white when al-Asr was martyred. And oh my son, you weren't there with me when I sent my brother Abbas with the standard of Islam. You weren't there with me when I stood gazing as the standard faltered but stood upright again and then fell to the ground. And my brother called out to me his final greeting. I went to him and I said that, oh my brother Abbas, until now you were my source of strength and my support. You were the standard bearer of my army. You were the hope for Zainab and Sakina. Now that you have fallen in battle, Hussein feels truly alone. My enemy is celebrating while my back is broken. And Imam Zain al-Abidin said, Father, tell me, is there no one who will stand and defend Islam? Is there no one who will give their life to defend your honor and your life? And the Imam said, my son, there remain none but you and me. And Imam Zain al-Abidin said, Father, bring me a sword, bring me a staff. You are the grandson of the messenger of God. You are the one whom the Prophet used to look at, and it would make him forget all the troubles of this world. He would hug you and he would kiss you, and he would feel that he were in heaven and not on this earth. Father, if there is no one else who is alive, then I will defend you with whatever strength I have. And at that point, Imam Hussein said that, oh my son, you will fight the battle, not in the battlefield of Karbala, but in the court of Ibn Ziyad and Yazid, in the dungeons of Kufa and Damascus. And maybe Imam Hussein said that, oh my son, your battle will be even more difficult than my battle in Karbala. I have not read that Imam Hussein said those words, but you have all heard the hadith that when Imam Zain al-Abidin was asked, what was the most painful tragedy that you experienced? Although he was present in Karbala, he didn't mention any of the scenes of martyrdom and sacrifice that took place in Karbala, but he only bowed down his head as tears streamed from his face, and he said, Asham, Asham, Asham. If you want to know the most grievous tragedy that we suffered, the family of the Prophet, then know that we were in the court of Yazid. The granddaughters of the Prophet were captives, and Yazid was celebrating the martyrdom of the family of the Prophet. Inna lillah وإنا إليه راجعون وسيعلم الذين ظلموا أي منقلب ينقلبون. O Allah, accept this remembrance of the suffering of Ahlul Bayt on our behalf. Make us among those people who show up not just in Majalis to express our grief, but show up to offer our service, and who see every obligation and every decision in our life as part of our struggle for your cause, for the sake of Ahlul Bayt, for truth and against evil. And may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala fulfill our prayers and our hajat, and may He grant us the honor and the blessing to witness the appearance of the Imam of our tribe and the success of his mission for the eradication of injustice and evil and spiritual darkness, and the spread of the message of Islam in every corner of the earth. O Allah, during these days and nights of commemoration, many mu'mineen have offered their time, have offered their prayers, have participated, have sponsored, have devoted themselves to the Prophet and to Ahlul Bayt. O Allah, accept all of these efforts, but let us have even more strength and more tawfiq to continue these efforts and to continue serving the path of Muhammad wa Ali Muhammad. It pains our hearts when we see so many mu'mineen in Ashura, and then when it is time for Jum'ah, when it is time for Dua Kumal, when it is time for classes, then we see that so few remain. O Allah, my most fervent prayer for myself, my family, my community is keep us present to offer our life, our resources, and everything that we have been given for the sake of your religion, your Prophet, and Ahlul Bayt. Sallu ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. Oh Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. Ya Hussein.
Ya Hussein. Ya Hussein. Ya Hussein. Ya Hussein. Ya Hussein. Ya Hussein. Ya Hussein. Ya Hussein. Ya Hussein. Ya Hussein. Ya Hussein. Ya Hussein. Ya Hussein. Ya Hussein. Ya Hussein. Ya Hussein. Ya Hussein. Ya Hussein. Ya Hussein.